This is KLEAN Radio.
Welcome everybody out there listening to KLEAN Radio. We're a show about addiction, mental health, and everything in the middle. That's what I'm told to say. And instead of Andrew tonight, we have the amazingly talented, awesome, beautiful, beyond the greatest psychiatrist on the Eastern Hemisphere, Dr.
Don't get
Jason
carried
Kell.
away, Judah. It's good to be here. It's been a long time.
How are you?
I'm good. I just got out of the pool. I'm feeling really good.
And that's an image I want right now in my head.
There's nothing like a swim to get you in a good mood.
That's actually a great thing to talk about because a lot of people, you know, we live in the society of people medicating and over-medicating, and you do something basically every night. You know, you have a stressful job, you're a psychiatrist, but you swim.
I swim. Well, you know, exercise is really important, and I constantly emphasize that at KLEAN. You know, it's part of a healthy lifestyle.
And if you just tuned in, by the way, you are listening to KLEAN Radio. There are a couple things I wanted to talk about quickly. In the news, Dennis Rodman checked himself into rehab for alcoholism. And
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, you know, after his little North Korea jaunt, that might probably was a good idea.
Yes.
And it's also, there's something about the pot. The Colorado shop owners, they can't keep marijuana edibles in stock. That's how, you know, the stock sales, the pot sales are going in Portland. I mean, in Colorado. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, boy, yeah.
It's a lot of people eating pot.
Here we go, yeah.
And, but, you know, and Buddy Totten, Delmer Buddy Totten sitting in is there's our little sidekick. I like to call him Schneider. But, Doc, that's an important thing. I mean, the people that eat the pot, right, that are eating it with the brownies, it's sort of because, you know, you do get munchies when you eat pot. So it's sort of killing two birds with one stone.
No, maybe so.
What is your thoughts on it, by the way? Because we have been talking a lot about it. What is your thought on the legalization?
Well, I'm for it. And, you know, we might as well get on with it. It's going to happen. But if we legalize it, then we can regulate it. But more importantly, I think we need to educate the public, you know, about what the real effects of marijuana are. Right now, everyone thinks it's a benign drug. They really underestimate the risk of marijuana, and that's a shame. I'm not sure why the government isn't doing more to educate the public.
But don't you think that that we're doing that with a lot of drugs? We're underestimating it. We've become so pervasive with, you know, there's a story right now, the disturbing side effect of Ambien. It's the #1 prescription sleep aid, and where people are doing, you know.
Yeah, here's another example. Well, it's a prescription drug. It must be safe.
Right.
Well, not really. Yeah. Right. There are a lot of serious side effects. I saw that article. You sent it to me.
Well, because, you know, one of the things that we're saying is turning people into zombies. Zombies is like everything is turning everybody into zombies. It's like the #1 stuff on TV show-wise, so they're putting it in the Ambien story, too. But I think there is a pervasiveness right now going on where these things aren't that dangerous, because if you have a prescription for it, how could it be that dangerous?
Right. You know, and doctors, you know, they're busy. They have, what, a 5-minute, maybe a 10-minute visit. Somebody says they can't sleep. Oh, here, take this. Do they sit down and explain the side effects? Unfortunately, they usually don't. They just don't have time. And people don't read up on it, and they take it. Yeah.
And I think the danger is, too, is that we talk about medicine cabinet robbing. You know, you have a lot of people that they're given prescriptions. They leave it in their medicine cabinet, and they might not take it, but they have teenagers. They have children. And it's easier to get prescription drugs these days than it is alcohol.
Oh, yeah. And I know a lot of people who go to open houses just to raid medicine cabinets.
You see, you might have just helped people get a good idea. So,
no, believe me, they're well aware.
Yeah. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio, so give us a call if you'd like to talk about any of these things or anything. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. We're in the studio tonight, and all kidding aside, one of the best psychiatrists, I think, in the world, one of the best psychiatrists I've ever met. And I remember when I've got respect for you. This is 3 years ago. We were on a different station, and we were talking about, you know, psychotropic drugs, SSRIs, and I asked you, how do they work? And you said, I don't know. And it was one of the most honest answers I could ever hear from a psychiatrist. Say, I don't know.
Well, because we don't.
LA 790 KA.
And sorry about that.
Oh. I was saying we really don't know. I mean, we have some theories, and they're quite elegant, but do we really know exactly how and why they have these effects on moods, and as well as a lot of other effects that they have.
So give us a call if you just tuned in. You're listening to KLEAN Radio. That's Dr. Jason Coe. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Let's go to Amy, who'd like to check in. Amy, welcome back as always.
Hi.
How are you?
Andrew, I'm doing fine.
Andrew's not in. It's Dr. Coe.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Hi, Amy.
I was going to say, hi. I just called in kind of on a funny note due to... I was going to tell Andrew that he had to check out for a minute because you and I are the only ones, I think, in the nation that agree on the McCafe issues with your dating advice.
Yes, and this is to people that are just that didn't hear last week's show. I was asked to give my dating advice, Doc, and I was saying to people that people always go to the most expensive restaurants first. I think it's got to be done in reverse. And Amy went even cheaper than I did and said the first date should be at a McCafe. I think that might be a little too low. I was more referring to Johnny Rockets or something in that vein, Hardee's if you're in a different area.
Well, I have to say really quick, I'm going to try to make this as fast as I can, but what happened is over the weekend, it was my birthday, and I turned 48 is my legal birthday age. And I was with a friend, and we were having coffee, and the friend that I have been interested in called and said that he had, I thought he said to meet him in an hour and a half for a lunch, and it turned out that he only had an hour and a half. And so my friend rushed me over to where he was, and the only time we had left was less than an hour by the time I got over to him. And so we ended up going to McDonald's. And he, I get Twitter-pated when I'm around him, so I was not hungry, and so he was starving, and so he did order his Big Mac meal. And so we sat there and visited for quite a while, and it was just kind of funny that I told him what you guys said about opening the doors for me and, making sure that I monitor, how he is around his friends. And what was neat about it was that he'd never opened the door for me in the car before, and that was the first that he actually opened the door, and I just kind of felt like a queen that he was, but he has also been very gracious about the situation that I've been through. And, he's in investigations, so he kind of sees the flip side of a lot of Amy's in the world. And so he understands the trauma that people go through like I have.
Which is Amy, sorry to cut you off, Doc, because, Amy's gone through a lot of trauma. And since she's called the show, you've started going to meetings, you've started, dealing with the trauma. Mm-hmm. And just listening to you laugh, talk about your 48th birthday, that you went on a date, I can't think of a better gift you've given us here at KLEAN Radio than sharing that story. Mm-hmm. Because, Doc, that's, so many people are trauma survivors, but they can't get through. Somebody like Amy is.
Well, that's true. Everyone deals with trauma of one sort or another.
Yeah,
well, one of the highlights of it was that on the way back, he told me, he said, "Can I take you home?"
Hey now.
I'm at the mercy of the buses right now, and so he asked to take me home. And on the way home, he opened the console and grabbed a piece of gum, and then by the time we got back here, he kissed me. So
there you go. And by next week, I'm scared of the updates you might be giving us. We are a family G-rated show, Amy.
That's about all I'm going to share. Probably too much information.
No, you know what, Amy? There are so many people out there that are going through it. The courage and strength that it takes for you to call in and talk about this stuff. You don't know how many people you're helping. And, it's an amazing thing. I'm so happy that you had a good date. Make sure the next date is a step above.
Well, he's going to take me to dinner this week.
Good.
For my birthday. So
even Olive Garden is okay.
A step above McDonald's, I'll tell you that. That was just kind of on a funny note.
Yeah.
So
well, it's about developing a relationship.
Yeah.
It's about the relationship, not where you go.
Yeah. It's the journey.
That's the thing. Is that I told him, I said I could have, he could bring his Big Mac combo meal. I could bring my McChicken. We could look at the moon and count the stars. It doesn't matter. It's the ambiance of who you're with. So.
Amy, you really made my week. Happy 48.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
And I'll talk to you later, Amy.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio. That was Amy telling us about getting through trauma, going on a first date, taking my advice, getting a McCafe, and, next up, Olive Garden for Amy. So
nice. All right.
And, Doc, I mean, it's so fun hearing a call like that because it's everything what we talk about. It's surviving the trauma. It's embracing it in a sense, and it's, Or
getting past it and going on with your life.
And Buddy, one of the reasons Buddy Totten's our Schneider of the show. He's got a keychain that is so big, and one of the reasons, and I always tell this to clients sometimes at one of our centers, is that you want to know who's got the craziest story I've ever heard? It's you. I mean, because you survived a lot of trauma dealing with alcoholism in your family and all. True. I mean, you are a true trauma survivor.
This is true.
Not to put you on the spot. I don't want to,
Right. No, that's okay. I mean, it's my story, so I've acclimated to it, but then when I do tell other people my story and I see the expression on their faces, then I'm like, well, yeah, I guess, it's pretty extreme.
I mean,
that's alcoholism. That's addiction. It's an extreme disorder. And, when you experience it in your family, it's just like a slow moving train crash, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you just have to do your best to try and survive it.
So, Doc, how does somebody that we have two sets of people, right? We have the people that live with their trauma and live in it. And you have somebody like Buddy, somebody like Amy, who's willing to cross to the other side.
Well, trauma affects us all, and we grow up in one way or another. Some people, unfortunately, have parents who don't know how to be parents, and alcoholism and drug addiction interferes with the ability to parent. And so the trauma that no doubt the parents experience, they pass on to their children, and it's a cycle that keeps going on. And it spreads not only within families, but throughout the world. We have people who are going off to war, they come back, they bring back that trauma. Something happens at LAX. We're all traumatized by it.
That is very true. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to Clean Radio. Let's go to Janine in New York. Welcome to Clean Radio.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Hi, Janine.
Oh. Hi, how are you? I just thought that I would mention that addiction and mental health in the same sentence on Facebook really struck me. I think the two are so related. I also wanted to say that the addicted person, the one who's really smashed out all the time, seems to get off quite easy. And the therapists don't want to sit down and talk to you about how to figure things out as much as they want to just give you more drugs. And that's the thing that really screws everything up to begin with. And then, of course, you pile on the alcohol on top of it, and it just never seems to stop. And when you ask anybody for help, they really don't want to get involved because they think that they're going to have to pay or get involved in some way monetarily. So people get stuck in situations with addicts that just seem to ruin the person who's healthy over and over and over again. So weird.
Doc?
I couldn't agree more. CLEAN is a dual diagnosis treatment center, and we emphasize psychotherapy, group therapy. We emphasize the program as well. It's really important for that person who's addicted to understand how that happened, how they got there, and what are the feelings that they're having trouble dealing with, that they're numbing out with the substance.
And it's also, it's spreading that message, like we posted on Facebook, Doc, that mental health and addiction go together.
Absolutely.
Addiction is a mental health disorder.
Yeah.
And one last thing, giving pills is not an answer. It is, in some cases it can be really helpful, but a pill can help you figure your life out, and that's what's important.
Janine?
Yeah, you know what? My father, who was a baseball player who lost his career, and he could have really been a real jerk, and he could have had no character, and he could have been an alcoholic, and he could have hit his wife, and he could have done all kinds of creepy stuff, but he didn't do that. My father said the most important thing to me. He said, you know what? When you have a problem and you drink, what you do is you have a problem, and then you wake up the next morning with another problem. You're hungover,
and it gets worse.
But Janine, that's why your father's not an alcoholic.
He could have very well have been. It's just that he decided not to do it. Like my mother decided not to do it, and I decided not to do it. But for some strange reason, we attract our opposites, and we get a lot of alcoholics who come into our family. And it just didn't happen to me. It happened to a sibling.
We're more fun. I'm kidding. But Janine, what you're talking about...
No, you're not more fun. Are you talking about if you're an addicted
No,
person?
in addiction, we're definitely not more fun. Sober, we are. But Janine, what you're talking about...
And boundary crossing is more like it, actually.
Janine, you raise all good points. How did you hear about us? I'm just curious.
I said before I told you that I read this on Facebook, and you know what? My life was kind of destroyed by somebody whose family was, just totally addicted to alcohol and God knows what else. And I got into something that I could never pull out of, and I'm still trying to pull out of it. And I may seem very calm and everything, but I've been through the worst hell you could ever imagine, and I still haven't figured out how to eliminate it. And all the therapists that you try to go to today, with the exception of going to something like Al-Anon.
Have you checked that out?
You can't even get a meeting here. Whatever we're in here, we cannot get...
Where in New York are you?
I'm out on Long Island, and I've tried before. The last one that I went to, the stories that I said to the people... They just sat there with their mouths open, and they were just dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it.
Janine, I'll tell you. Janine, I have a lot of contacts on Long Island that clean. We all do. If you private message me on Facebook, I will find you some really good meetings if you're interested.
Well, that would be lovely.
Where I promise you will not shock anybody.
I don't know about that, but I don't really care about being in a contest. I do know one thing is for sure. I am tired of therapists who just want to hand me drugs, and I certainly don't want to know anybody who does drugs anymore. I kind of I cringe, and I do yoga, and I try to do relaxation tapes, and I could be a drug addict, and I could crash cars, I could ruin people's lives, I could cross your boundaries, I could be the worst person in the whole world, but I don't choose to do that.
That would be spreading the trauma.
Janine, yeah. Janine, we got to run, but please private message me on Facebook, and thanks for the call. You're always welcome, and I will get you a great meeting in Long Island.
Hey, have a happy life. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. And if you just tuned in, you're all listening to KLEAN Radio. That's Janine from Long Island. And, Doc, that's somebody, and I get it. She's dealt with alcoholics, and she's dealt with drug addicts.
She's angry.
And she's angry.
And it's understandable.
Yeah.
Well, and, she's taken a lot of trauma into her life.
Yeah.
By getting involved with these kind of people.
Right. Yeah. In active addiction, getting involved with people is...
It's really dangerous.
It is.
To your mental health, and, and it's not going to... unless you're professional, you're not in a position to help somebody who's addicted. Yeah.
That's a very interesting, because people think you can. Like somehow they can help, You can't love an addict out of his addiction.
Yeah. I mean, can you love a schizophrenic out of his psychosis? That's not how it works.
And let's get back to the calls. By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. Give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. I got to go to this call because it's where Alcoholics Anonymous was founded. So let's go to Shannon in Akron, Ohio. Wow. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Did you know that?
I'm sorry?
Did you know that Alcoholics Anonymous was founded in Akron, Ohio?
I surely did.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely have. I, too, have been in relationships. I didn't grow up in it, but just in my adult life have been in addictive relationships as well, so I have tried to educate and inform myself on the addiction process because, again, when you're in it, it just becomes your life, and you really don't know how to get out of it.
Shannon, before you keep going, we're having issues with your phone. If you could call us back, that would be great. We'll take you the second or a couple seconds after you call back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just call right back. And if you just tuned in, again, you are listening to Clean Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Dr. Jason Coe. We're talking about, obviously, tonight we're talking about relationships a little bit, trauma.
Yeah, trauma seems to be the common theme that we're hearing.
Because I think so many people have it.
Well, we do. We all do. Like I was explaining before, it's part of growing up. It's part of the mess the world is in these days, and you look around, you go, oh, there's all sorts of things going on, and it just upsets me and just frightens me.
So you hear people talking about, these bad relationships. Explain what it is, because sometimes it's hard for people to not understand, because you just want to say to somebody, get out. Get out. But codependency, right, in some ways, is as strong as the addiction itself.
Well, that's what keeps it in.
Right.
And, that's such a big subject, I'm not sure, even how to approach it. But people are so needy and dependent upon a relationship that they don't know any other way to go. My approach to it is, I think you're better off without a relationship if it's a bad relationship. Okay.
And
that may not be a popular.
Well, I mean, that's why Buddy is single, And,
no, it's true.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it, you've made that conscious decision, right? At certain points, right?
Well, I'm a little over 5 years clean, and I made a conscious effort or decision that I was going to take these amount of years, because I've 26 years of active addiction. I really needed to take a break and really work on myself and get my life together before I could have anything of real value to offer to anybody else.
And by the way, that's Buddy Totten. We're in the studio tonight with Dr. Jason Coe. The calls are lining up. We're going to have to take a break in a couple seconds, but we'll get back to all of them. We're talking about trauma tonight. We're talking about dating and sobriety. It's a huge topic, Doc. That you can't be done in 1 hour.
I'm not even sure where to begin.
Yeah, it's neither am I, actually. But apparently, my McCafe first date for Amy has worked. I'm really happy.
Nice, Judah.
Yeah. I just set up a good thing in Vancouver, Washington. Discussion is going to continue on Clean Radio in about a couple minutes.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits. Now back to Andrew Spanswick and Judah Friedman.
Welcome back to Clean Radio. Andrew's not in, but Dr. Jason Coe is. Also Delmer Buddy Totten. And one of the things, Doc, we're talking about tonight, and a lot of this stuff could sound somber, and it could sound like it's depressing sometimes, but there's nothing better than listening to people that are working their way through working their way through stuff, working their way through trauma, listening to Amy, listening to even the call from New York, Janine, as she's struggling, going through this. At least she's going through it.
Right. I mean, she's living her life. She has some insight. She knows that she needs to work on this relationship and this tendency to get involved with people who are addicted. And, as you said before, it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And do you think but that's why most people don't get help, because it's hard?
Well, I think they're scared. I think that they don't know that help exists a lot of times, or they've had a bad experience. They've given up on it. There are a lot of reasons.
So let's go to Susan. She's calling from Canoga Park. Susan, welcome back, I think, to Clean Radio.
Hi.
Are you our coffee addict?
Yes, I am, and wanted to ask the doctor, Dr. Koh, good evening,
Hi.
if you had any experience helping people kick caffeine.
How much are you drinking?
Oh, like 15, 20 cups a day.
Oh,
and
wow.
I have a medical condition, high potassium, that it could kill me, and it's raising my levels. I'm really, I've been all over looking for a support
My
group.
goodness.
Yeah, anyway. do
Yeah,
you
that's a
have any-
lot of coffee. I thought I drank a lot.
Yeah, me too.
No, it could kill me. I'm at the point of it could literally kill me, and I can't stop. I can't. I was off for 3.5 years, and I took it back, what can I say, a year ago. And I'm back. I started with 8 ounces, and I'm going to, time it, and it doesn't work. So
How'd you get off of it before?
Well, I belong to other 12-step programs, and I had support, and I still do, but now I'm very willful, and I'm asked, I need a support group. I'm just really wanting to know if of a support group, or should I go into a detox
I was going to
program?
suggest that, by the way.
What?
A detox doc.
You might need some sort of monitored setting. I don't know. I'm really not aware of places that specifically target caffeine addiction, but
No, but I mean, either way, as long as somebody's watching her for 24/7, making sure she doesn't get caffeine.
yeah, you need a monitored somebody who can support you through this as you reduce it. And I don't expect you to stop cold turkey, but you really need to start reducing it.
Well, is there any sort of, I mean, because she's going to have pretty bad withdrawals if she's drinking 20 cups a day of coffee.
Well, guys, if for any caffeine addicts out there, which I'm sure there are, I'm not the only one. So if
Oh, you're
anybody's
not.
out there, I did go cold turkey, and
You got a bad headache?
no, it just took I was depressed and very low blood pressure. But other than that, I was irritable, just like getting off alcohol. I have 30 years of sobriety and all that. This is the thing that's just,
It's that last
No,
thing.
it wasn't that bad, but now I don't, I keep saying I want to quit. It's just the addiction process. I want to quit, and I can't. I mean, I'm really... So anyway, a detox is what you possibly are recommending.
I mean, I don't know what your finances are, Susan, or your insurances. But even if it was checking in for 24 to 48 hours or hiring somebody to tie you down, and that sounded really bad if you just tuned into KLEAN Radio. But I mean that somebody watching you for about 48 hours, making sure, sort of like a sober companion. You need a coffee companion.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I wouldn't.
I want a group. I'm dying to have a group that I could go to, like 2 or 3 meetings a week, because that's how, Alcoholics Anonymous works.
Yeah, the problem is most of us still drink caffeine.
Yeah.
I know that. That's why I didn't even want to call you guys.
No, Susan.
You drink it, and I didn't want to embarrass you. But, I can't worry about it. This is my life I'm talking about. You guys probably don't drink 30 cups a day, and you probably don't have high potassium either. I'm in a real bind here.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what, Susan. Why don't you hold on? Give us a call. Give us our facility a call, because even we're going to try to figure out something, Doc, right, to help her.
Yeah, call and give us some time to do some research.
Give us. We're gonna spend after we just. If you can give us your private number, Susan, if you feel comfortable with that. If not, then give us our, give our 888 number a call. It's absolutely free, and we're going to try to figure out something for you.
All right. So what? All right. Let me give you. off the air.
Yeah, give it off the air. Yes, give it off the air.
Okay.
And I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to put you on hold, Susan.
Who do I ask for when I call back?
You ask when you call back. Just ask for Joe. And when you just hold on, Rand's going to talk to you for a couple seconds. And that's Susan, Doc. And that's, the courage that it takes to admit that, that's a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee.
And I'm sure that's causing her to be more stressed out than she normally would be.
I'm sure it affects your sleep. It affects all different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, not good.
Not good. And if you just, is when you hear a doctor say it's not good. But if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio, so give us a call. The number is 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Let's get back to Shannon calling from Akron, Ohio. Welcome back, Shannon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? It's a much better connection.
Oh, yes.
Great. Yeah, I also have been in addictive relationships. I didn't grow up with it, and of course, when you're young, you're going to be the one to change these people, and then you become part of the problem instead of part of the solution.
That's
as
right.
the years go by, and you think you're loving them, but really you're just kind of loving them to death and helping with the process. So I have educated myself and done a lot of research on my own just to, see how, they can choose the alcohol and the addiction over their family, because to me it kind of makes sense. But after almost 5 years, I have gained a lot of knowledge.
And how have you done that?
Actually, I've done a lot of reading. I have bookcases full of books, as well as I've done a lot of online, just research myself, because, again, I needed to find out why that was more important than your family, because not growing up with it, I didn't realize the hold that addiction has on people. And now, after living through it, I'm definitely an advocate for it. So I believe, and my question, I guess, was obviously I think that mental illness precedes the addiction process.
I agree.
Yeah. Do you agree? And then I believe it's, unhealthy childhood, a lot of genetics, and just, I believe mental illness is unresolved anger, unforgiveness, and just trauma from childhood, and then it kind of proceeds into the addiction process. So in my
and the addiction is to kill the pain of the trauma and the emotions that are unbearable, or to numb the pain.
Right. So what I have come, to find for myself is that, educating yourself is very high on my list of healing, as well as finding a church and, having God first in your life. I think having the support system there, as well as just educating yourself and, having to work through all those issues yourself to, find out who you really are as a person.
And Shannon, that's actually a great point, because you found God. Some people find the 12 steps. Everybody's going to find that community. That's something that they could go through it. And
Absolutely.
whether that's God, whether that's 12 steps, whether that's Buddha, whatever it is.
Right.
It's that's an important thing. And that's an important thing sometimes about group therapy.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about spirituality.
Yeah.
Very important. And that has to do with getting to know yourself better. It's an internal journey, I think.
Right.
And it hasn't been fun, Susan. Let me ask you an honest question. So the past 5 years you've been working on yourself, and you sound like you're doing pretty well.
Actually, I am.
Have you enjoyed? I mean, and the reason I'm asking this is because so many people are sometimes scared to take the journey, and so many people are scared to take the leap. And you've already done that.
Yes.
How's the journey been?
To be honest, very fearful. Get comfortable in what you know, even though you're unhappy. You're living in an unhappy situation, but you don't know how to change it. So you stay on the wheel of crazy because, the unknown is very fearful. And, taking that journey is definitely been a lot of emotional work on myself. I've gone to therapy as well, and just a lot of seeing truth. We live in denial when we live in an addictive household. We deny so many things. So you have to face reality and see the truth. And it's very painful sometimes.
Yeah.
So it has been quite the, one step forward, 10 steps back, getting to a place of peace in the last 5 years. And I would say it took probably about 2.5 years before I felt that sense of peace, and just I believe I went through like a grief process, even though it was my decision to let the relationship go. It felt like a death, and you still love the person. You just want them to see that there could be a different way to live, but you can't do that for them, so you have to journey on your own, and it has been quite the journey.
That's
tell you.
Shannon, that is,
Yeah.
I mean, Doc, that's
a great story. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work you've described.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work, but a lot of peace that I have in my life. And again, it's very hard. And of course, the addict doesn't see it. You know, I still love him, but I don't love the addiction process. And it's very hard to separate the addiction from the person because they don't see it. They see it as you don't love them. You love the person, but not the addiction. And that's a hard separation to make. And they don't see it for what it is
very
because
true,
they're
Shannon.
in the addiction process.
Shannon,
You're
Shannon, we
making a
got to
good
run,
point.
and you are. How did you hear about us before we let you go?
Actually, I have you on Facebook, and again, I'm a big advocate on addiction, so I like to educate myself so I can help other people. So it was actually on Facebook, and I'm not sure how I got your link, but yeah.
Well, I'm happy you did, and if anybody
Yeah.
out there, it's facebook.com/Clean Radio. Shannon, do me a favor, post so we know who you are, if you don't mind. Even just saying
Absolutely.
hello, and you're welcome to call back anytime. And I love that because I know Amy from Vancouver is probably listening, and I know she is still listening. And I love that you're sharing this story because she's in the beginning of her journey in some ways, and you're
Right.
sharing about 5 years later still being happy, or 5 years later being happy. So thank you.
It's a journey. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a great night. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio. That was Shannon from Akron, Ohio. I love that we're getting calls, Rand, from all over America. It's really
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Akron, Ohio. I mean, I don't care about New York. They're a given. And it's Akron, Ohio. Let's go to DJ in Tacoma, Washington. Welcome to Clean Radio, DJ.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I have a suggestion for the woman who's addicted to caffeine.
Susan.
Susan,
Yeah.
okay.
I hope.
I heard this from a counselor about 30 years ago. I was going for something else, but I mentioned to her about caffeine, and it worked for me. I still drink like 2 or 3 a day, but not like I was before. Every other cup, in one day, every other cup, you make it half and half, which is half regular, half decaf. And so for 1 or 2 days, you do that. And then this third day, you take, you stretch it out more so that you're drinking a little bit more half and half each day. And gradually, maybe within 3 weeks or so, you could be totally down to decaf.
It's titrating,
Does that make
Doc.
any sense?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I was suggesting to her, that don't go cold turkey, but find some way to gradually reduce.
It's actually a great idea, DJ. You're right.
It is, yeah.
You might have found the cure, DJ, for caffeine people all across America. And
I hope it helps.
you know what? Are you on Facebook, DJ?
I haven't been. I'm on there, but I haven't been on there in about 5 months.
I'll tell you what. Can you do me a favor? Because I think it's an amazing suggestion. If you could go to our Clean Radio page and just like type this out, if you don't mind, that would be great. Because I think people are going to read that and get some hope from it. And I might cut down a little bit. And you know what's funny, though? You talk about the half and half. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd have... I used to think, Doc, and I don't know what this is, that it was unmanly to order a decaf coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought I was like proud. I walked into Starbucks. And it was so hard for me to say, can I get decaf coffee?
Right.
And I got to be honest, it really it scares me a little bit. And now I'm proud to say
it's not very macho.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because I can't order the foo-foo drinks.
I actually stopped drinking coffee about 5 or 10 years ago.
But we're not talking about you. We're talking about the... But I actually think, DJ, your suggestion is great, and I'm finally, ordering at night now, half-half.
Okay.
Which is, to anybody out there that's half regular, half decaf, and I still feel manly.
Nice.
So, DJ, please go to our Facebook page and post that if you can. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great...
Oh, sorry for cutting off. Have a great night to you, too. If you just tuned in, you are listening to Clean Radio. We offer advice on mental illness, addiction, and coffee. And
coffee addiction.
Coffee addiction.
Yeah.
and dating, of course, and just call me the love doctor. And doc, you don't have to. But this is Dr. Jason Coe, and one of the things I say is, you've studied addiction a lot in the past couple of years.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that it's almost like, when people aren't raised in a religion and they find it on their own, sometimes it's such a much more spiritual thing because they've decided to do it. You were practicing in mental health and psychiatry, and then you started studying, really getting into this addiction thing, and you almost approached it in a spiritual way.
Well, I think I approach everything in a spiritual way.
Right, but this in particular.
Well, when you're helping people, it's a very spiritual experience.
Hopefully.
Well, for me it is.
Yeah. But I think that's definitely helped you open up because you didn't come in with any closed ideas. You were totally open-minded.
Correct. I come from a mental health background, and I guess that would be my bias, but, I was trained as a psychiatrist.
Right.
First.
Let's get us some more calls. Let's go to David. He's also got suggestions for Susan. David, welcome to KLEAN Radio.
Well, thank you. Good to be here. I have a note in front of me. If I don't write notes, I don't remember things, so I just write. So I have a note in front of my coffee pot that says dilute coffee, and that's what I've been doing.
Nice.
And today is the first day in years. This is so ironic I'm speaking to you about this. The first day in years I have not drank any coffee. And what's happening is my adrenals are burned out from coffee and stress, and I'm an alcoholic, and I've been drinking about, 15, 16 years. But
Are you
anyway,
sober now?
You bet.
Okay, good.
Right. And so I've been going to a naturopath, a natural doctor, and I have something before me that's called adrenal tea, which is going to be difficult for people in little towns in the Midwest and wherever to find this unless you go to Wild Oats or whatever. But I'm fortunate because in Portland and Seattle, there's two naturopathic clinics, or two naturopathic doctor schools, and I've been to both of them, and I'm very blessed to be here where I am to have access to this. I mean, I can throw a rock and go into the school and from my house and go there and get wonderful things that heal me. And so if this lady is drinking 20, 30, 40 cups of coffee, her adrenals, I'm surprised she can speak. I'm surprised she hasn't chipped all of her teeth out of her mouth, because I would have. Because my adrenals are so burned out, and hers have to be too. And you just can't drink that much coffee every day of your life and go on very long, I don't think.
It's very stressful.
Oh my God, you without a doubt. So something that's very easy to get, that you can get at any health food store, is licorice root. That's what I've been drinking today, is licorice root tea.
This guy's got a great voice, by the way, Rand. We got to get him for promos.
Yeah.
He almost sounds like he could be selling licorice root right now.
Oh, well, I'm in sales, yes.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Or perhaps it is.
Yeah. Get licorice root by David.
Licorice root is the way. Organic is the way for everything. If you can afford to eat organic, do it. And these are all my opinions, of course. And it's worked for me. But yeah, there's. But
I think David, hold on a second. I think you're in a very similar boat to Susan, because I think a lot of us that get sober have to face certain things. Because when you first get sober, you think you could live forever. Then all of a sudden, sometimes you realize you might not be the healthiest person, Doc,
right.
And you start realizing I may smoke too much, I may drink too much coffee, and it's not always easy. And David, you sound like you've figured out a good system of weaning yourself off.
Well, I hope so. Like I said, today's the first day in years I haven't drank it, but I've been drinking this licorice root tea and this adrenal tea formula, alternating with coffee, and it's just my schedule turned out today that I never got to any coffee, and I hope to not, and I'm thinking that I'm just going to continue with this, and I just feel so much better on the very first day. It is amazing. I'm thinking clearer. I'm not, cursing at the dog, whatever.
David, I want to thank you so much for the call. We're running out of time. Seriously, please call back anytime.
You guys it's a great radio show. It's the first time I've ever heard it in my life today.
Just thank you, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/KLEAN Radio.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And that was not Billy Mays Hayes from, from Portland. That was Dave. And, Doc, I like that. I like that he's listening to the show and offering a good solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? I've never heard of that, but, it's working for him.
Do you think some of that's psychosomatic, in a sense, or that's the right word, the placebo effect?
Just getting off the coffee is a tremendous accomplishment, and he's got to feel better from getting off of coffee.
So how long have you been without caffeine?
Well, I was thinking it's more like 10 years now.
Oh. Wow.
And I've felt a lot more comfortable off of it. I really have.
Do you want to get to somebody that disagrees with you?
Well, why not?
Let's go to Nate in Sacramento, who disagrees with Doc. Let's ring, ring, ring. Here we go. Or ding, ding, ding. Nate, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good,
Hi.
good.
Hi, Nate.
Hi there. I was curious why everybody thinks that when somebody becomes addict, they're masking something. Like the psychiatrist there kept saying, masking their trauma. Isn't there just people that start out using and they become addicted because they like it, and then their body and mind take over, and it's just part of their life? I don't understand why somebody always says that they're hiding something or they're masking their trauma. Why can't?
It's actually a good question.
That's a good question. And I have strong feelings on this. I believe that people feel better when they use substances because they're numbing out their pain. And I believe in some way or another, it gets down to psychic pain.
Right.
And certainly once you start using a substance, your body and your mind get used to it, and it takes on a whole life of its own. You know?
Especially with certain drugs like heroin.
Alcohol.
Right. But here's the thing, Nate.
sedatives.
Nate. I mean, take it from most people's perspective. I mean, just let's think about it logically. Nobody that's going is happy is going to shoot a needle into their arm. You know, there's got to be something that they want to run away from, Doc.
But why can't it be that they're just enjoying that drug and accept, since drug use has been around so long with opium addicts and the Chinese that built the railroad, why can't it just be an accepted part of the human condition that people have mouths and people have always have been putting stuff into their bodies for various reasons?
Nate, are you speaking from experience at all?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So
I have a daughter. I have a daughter that's a heroin addict.
Right.
She had a great life. But
right. But you see, you can't associate, Nate, a great life. I'm sure you're a great parent and you did a great job. Sometimes some people are a little different, and I don't know what her mind. It doesn't have anything to do with the way you raised her. That doesn't necessarily have to be where the trauma's from that Dr. Coe is talking about. Sometimes addicts have something in them. It's a little different.
Well, what I'm talking about is intrapsychic pain. It's somewhere inside that person is suffering, and they find relief from a mind-altering substance.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with you raising her badly or that being where the trauma comes from.
Oh, and where did that pain come from?
You know what, Nate? I don't know, and it's a great question you asked, because I come from a great family, but I was always miserable. And I always wanted something else, and I don't know where. I don't want that anymore, but when I was drinking, I don't know where that came from. And
Right, but I mean, it also could be, there could be a chemical imbalance, right? And someone could be masking a mental illness.
Right, she could be treating her mental illness with heroin.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's real troublesome seeing a lot of the younger people and using such a drug all the time. It's just hard to believe that it could escalate from kids, start out with marijuana and then they all of a sudden they're hooked on heroin
I was going to say, Nate, it may not be. A lot of times adolescents start out and they're just going through a normal adolescence and they get mixed up with drugs. And before you know it, they begin to use drugs to cope. And it may have been simply a normal developmental phase, and they get on these drugs, and it takes on a life of its own.
The question is, how is she doing now, Nate?
Oh, she said she had been taking Suboxone, and she's trying to help herself, but I've already learned not to believe what an addict tells you.
Yeah, right. How old is she?
She's going to be 24. So
I'll tell you what, Nate. Our 800 number is 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. If you ever have the need to talk or anything, please give us a call. It's absolutely free, and you shouldn't have to go through this alone.
Okay, thanks for your program and everything.
Thank you, Nate. And,
Thank you, Nate.
you know, we're praying for you.
Absolutely.
And Doc, you know, I think that's something really hard sometimes because trauma could also come into, peer pressure. You don't know what could shake a person.
Yeah. And we also know that, you know, experimentation is normal, but these people who develop a pattern of coping with drugs, you know, particularly in early adolescence, are likely to become addicts in later life. The earlier you start, the more the risk is.
And it breaks my heart when you hear parents, you know, calling in and you hear, you know, people that, it doesn't matter who actually, you know, it's people, a loved one in their life, because they don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, you've got to get them off drugs as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then you figure out what the issue is.
Right.
Block the drugs, whatever you do.
Absolutely.
And to people out there treating, you know, and I one time heard somebody say this, I love therapy, we're big on therapy, but treating addiction sometimes with therapy is like going to a gunfight with a knife. And it's if you have somebody, you know, his daughter's 25, she's still young, there's still a chance.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, if you could get her, you know, get into rehab, go.
I mean, first things first. You've got to stop the using.
And, Doc, we're running out of time. I just want to get to one quick call very quickly. Todd, you got 30 seconds. How you doing, Todd?
Hi, it's a pleasure to listen to a real psychiatrist over the phone.
Thank you, Todd.
Todd, you must hear real psychiatrists all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I've tried just about every combination of drugs for my bipolar, and I finally settled on a Seroquel and Lamictal.
And Todd, give us 5 seconds of funny.
I was going to call Dr. The Elko, like, because I'm a buckaroo cowboy.
That's Todd. I'll get that humor next week. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
And that was Todd in Oregon. I want to thank everybody, Doc. You're an amazing psychiatrist and you help a lot of people.
Well, thank you, Judah.
New Orleans lost or Louisiana's loss was California's gain.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back. And
you're always welcome here. You know that. Yeah. And that's Delmer Buddy Totten. Buddy, as always, you're a good man, and I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody out there that called in tonight, everybody that's listening, our fans, Steve, Rand, Patrick, everybody that helps put on the show. If you have a problem, give us a call. The number is 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Discussion continues at KLEANRadio.com.
Are you or someone you care about addicted to drugs or alcohol? Addiction ruins lives and destroys families. Bring an end to the pain and suffering by calling KLEAN Treatment Centers. KLEAN has helped people from around the world break free by not only treating the addiction, but the underlying causes and providing vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean with no gimmicks and no false promises. If you need immediate assistance or just have questions, call KLEAN Treatment Centers for guidance. A much better life awaits.